With a wet thwack, he spat the director's wallet and the payroll drive directly onto Grimsby's head. The courtroom erupted in laughter. Stone looked at Grimsby, then at the reptile, then at the wallet. Director, you were trying to court-martial a man for a theft committed by a pet that you yourself allowed on this base? But, Grimsby sputtered. Enough. Stone stood up. Sterling, get this reptile a medal for its honesty. Grimsby, get back in your chair and stay there before I have you committed to a lunar asylum. Chapter 6. The Siege of the Sapphire Sea. The final test came when the Nebula Syndicate launched a surprise raid on the Isle of Astra. Their pirate frigates appeared on the horizon, plasma cannons glowing with lethal intent. The base's main defense systems were offline, due to Sullivan accidentally wiring the power grid into the Astrale distillery. The only weapon left was an ancient, rusted-out railgun battery on the North Cliff, a relic from a forgotten war. "We're doomed," Grimsby cried, hiding under his desk. "The Syndicate will tear us apart." "Not on my watch," Sterling said, his eyes narrowing. "But Skipper, the fuse is manual. Someone has to light it with a thermal torch." As the Syndicate ships closed in, the rogue squad moved with a frantic, chaotic efficiency. Sullivan used the distillery's high-proof alcohol as an accelerant. Pippin, in a fit of clumsy heroism, tripped over a power cable, accidentally aligning the railgun's targeting sensors perfectly with the enemy flagship's fuel core. "Now, Pippin, fire." Pippin lit the fuse. The ancient cannon roared with a sound that shook the very foundation of the island. A massive slug of molten metal streaked across the sky, punching a hole through the Syndicate frigate and causing a chain reaction that lit up the Sapphire Sea like a second sun. The enemy fleet, seeing their flagship vaporized by a weapon that shouldn't have worked, retreated into warp space. Chapter 7. The Aftermath. Commissioner Stone stood on the pier, preparing to leave. He looked at Sterling, Pippin, and the rest of the rogue squad. "Commander Sterling," Stone said, actually offering a stiff nod of respect. "Your methods are unorthodox. Your base is a diplomatic nightmare. Your director is a giggling maniac. But you get results." He turned to Pippin. "Lieutenant Pringle, your dead-eye shot with that ancient battery will be recorded in the annals of the Federation, even if you did it while falling face first into a sand dune." As the shuttle lifted off, Grimsby stood next to Sterling, his eyebrows finally starting to grow back. He held a card from High Command. "What is it, Director?" Sterling asked, lighting a cigar. "A message from Stone," Grimsby sighed. "He's giving the rogue squad a commendation, and he's assigning me to a mandatory 3-month stress relief retreat on a desert planet with no communication to the outside world." Pippin beamed. "Wow, Director, a vacation. Can I come?" "No, Pippin," Grimsby whispered, his eyes twitching. "You stay here with Sterling and the lizard." As the sun set over the Isle of Astra, the sound of Slick Sullivan opening a fresh batch of moonshine echoed across the bay. The Fox was still in charge, the bionic beast was full of credits, and the universe somehow was safe for another day. The End. The Bastion of Blunders. A Maverick's Guide to Island Insanity. Chapter 1. The Lingerie Logistics of Zunzun. Director Barnaby Barnacles was a man who lived on the precipice of a nervous breakdown. As the head of Azure Bastion Security, a private firm contracted to guard the strategically insignificant, but very humid, Zunzun Island. His days were spent fighting two enemies, the unrelenting tropical heat and his own staff. On this particular Tuesday, Barnacles was screaming about garter belts. "Wow, wow, wow," Barnacles shouted, slamming a fist onto his mahogany desk, which was currently covered in requisition forms for high-grade ammunition and, inexplicably, lace hosiery. "Higgins, you are the supply director here. If the medical staff needs garter belts, you snap to it. Shake a leg, or whatever it is they do with their legs." His sycophantic assistant, Officer Higgins, winced. "Sir, I'm trying." But the shipment was diverted to New Caledonia. "Apparently, they're having a gala." "What a world. What a war," Barnacles wailed, clutching his chest. Everything is on my shoulders. And now, the final nail. I just got a message from my contact at HQ. High Commissioner Iron Jaw Jackson is arriving today for a surprise inspection. Higgins turned pale. Commissioner Jackson was a man whose personality was roughly 40% military discipline and 60% sharpened flint. He was known for firing directors for having dusty boots. The bastion is a mess. Barnacles paced frantically. The sinks in the petty officer's lounge are backing up like a geyser of filth. I'm a director, not a plumber. My stomach acid could start a diesel engine, Higgins. Give me my pills. Sir, please. Those pills give you terrible indigestion, Higgins pleaded. I don't care. Barnacles swallowed a handful of chalky tablets. Then, a wicked glint entered his eye. Wait. If I was sick, truly, medically incapacitated, I'd have to appoint an acting director. Someone for Jackson to yell at instead of me. Sir, surely you aren't suggesting... I'm suggesting Commander Maverick. Mav Malone. Barnacles grinned. Malone and his pack of guerrilla gentlemen are the most undisciplined, rule-breaking, beer-brewing miscreants on this island. If they're in charge when Jackson arrives, they'll destroy themselves in front of his very eyes. It's brilliant. I look sick, don't I? Terribly, sir. Higgins lied. Should I call the medic? Quickly, on the double. Barnacles threw himself onto his sofa, moaning in feigned agony. Higgins, catch me. I'm fading. He fell. Higgins did not catch him. Barnacles hit the floor with a thud that echoed through the entire command center. You stupid, no-shot amateur. Barnacles hissed from the floor. Get Malone. Chapter 2. The Pirate King takes the throne. Commander Maverick Malone was currently busy. He was helping his crew, a group known collectively as the 73rd Raiders, test their latest invention. A solar-powered, still hidden inside a decommissioned radar dish. Skipper! Shouted Junior Officer Percy Pudding Pringle, a man who could trip over a flat shadow. Malone, Director Barnacles is dying. Or at least he's making a lot of noise about it. Malone arrived at the infirmary to find Barnacles draped across a bed like a Victorian lady with a swooning disorder. Oh, Malone, Barnacles wheezed. It's my heart. Or my spleen. One of the organs is definitely failing. I need you to take command of the bastion until HQ sends a replacement. I've even appointed Pringle here as your acting executive officer. Pudding Pringle beamed. Oh boy, did you hear that, Skipper? You'll never regret this, Director. I know I won't. Barnacles muttered under his breath, closing his eyes to hide his triumphant smirk. Within 10 minutes, Malone was behind the director's desk. Within 20 minutes, the island's dress code had been officially changed to tropical casual. Within 30 minutes, a party had begun. Listen, boys, Malone said to his crew, a collection of gamblers, tech wizards, and beach bums. The director is out of commission. That means the rulebook is officially in the recycling bin. Full speed ahead. Does that mean we can open the social lounge? Asked Gruber, the crew's resident hustler. As far as I'm concerned, Malone leaned back. We're in business. By the time the sun reached its zenith, Zun Zun Island had transformed. The air raid shelter had been converted into a tiki bar. Hula dancers, who may or may not have been local staff in costume, were performing near the motor pool. The island was a regular Roman orgy of fun. Then, the radar beeped. Skipper, Pringle squeaked. A transport plane just touched down. It's Iron Jaw Jackson. Malone froze. The commissioner? Now? Why didn't anyone tell me? I think Barnacles might have forgotten that detail, sir, Pudding said, his knees knocking together like castanets. Malone jumped into action. Gruber, get those girls out of here. Hide them in the air raid shelter. Pringle, get a uniform on. We've got an inspection to pass. Chapter 3. The Sultan and the Silk. Just as Malone was trying to clear the evidence of the party, a new complication arrived. Not Jackson, but a VIP the HQ had failed to mention. The Sultan of Sola, a billionaire, ally of the firm, and his 3 beautiful daughters. The Sultan was an old-school traditionalist, with a very low tolerance for Western buffoonery. "Greetings, Your Highness,"